My name is Roshan Hindia. Welcome to Sowtastic podcast. We have with us two amazing guests, Pranay Shah and his son, Pratham Shah. Hey guys, how are you today?
Hey, doing well. Thank you,
Good
Roshan.
stuff. Well, nice to have you on the podcast. Why don't we start off just learning a little bit about you and your family. So Pranay, can I have you just start?
Sure. Hey, thanks, Roshan. Hey, hi. This is Pranay Shah here. From a family background perspective, back in India, my grandfather was from Gujarat. We moved to Bombay in 1940s when my grandfather was 13-year-old. And we have been in Bombay ever since. So I'm like born, brought up, everything in Bombay. Did my education also back there. Been from a bachelor engineering. Had a fantastic run at college, and a couple of years of post college stints I did in terms of having my own companies, and then I moved to the corporate world. And now, last 22 years, I've been in the industry, in the corporate world, and working for the Big Four, and very, 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 very happy with where I am.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Pratham, can I ask you to introduce yourself?
Yeah, definitely. So my name is Pratham Shah. I was born in Mumbai when I was 9 months old, and I moved to the US when I was less than a year old. I currently attend the University of Indiana at Kelley School of Business, and I'm pursuing the finance degree.
Wow. Nice. And I know, Pranay, you come from a family, you have, obviously you and your wife are raising not just Pratham, but you also have a 13-year-old son, Nimit. So
it keeps us busy, both the boys.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Good. Okay, so let me ask you this, Pranay. So you started to instill financial knowledge into your kids early. So can you just help me understand a little bit about your philosophy? Why was it important for you to sow that financial knowledge?
So I think one of the first things that I've seen as I was, early on in my childhood, and as I saw that struggle, what the struggle they had seen from, coming from village to a bigger place like Mumbai, I kind of saw firsthand what life is at, what hard work goes into earning every rupee or every, dollar eventually. So I've seen the struggles firsthand, and that is when I realized that it's very important to inculcate the culture of hard work, the commitment, and your style of working and building relationships is so important, which will translate into the the financial choices that you make, the financial wisdom that you need to have, how to use your money, where to spend the money, where to invest your money. And so there's a lot of things that I saw firsthand that I realized that it's very important as I came to the US in the last 20 years ago. And when my kids were born, and I was like, hey, they don't have that kind of a background or culture of seeing those things that I have seen. So it is very important for me to share some stories and share some real life examples by me practicing and sowing the seeds of financial knowledge. And finance comes afterward. The first I think about is how do we enable the kids to make the right choices in terms of education, in terms of culture, in terms of the philanthropy also. Because once you have the money, it's how to use it is also a very important aspect. So my philosophy is about the financial investing, financial growth, financial all that, but it should match up with the wisdom that you have, so that you can use the money wisely for the larger good. Make money, make a lot of money, but at the end of it, balance it, do it, spend for yourself, of course, but, do the larger good. That is my philosophy.
Wow. Okay. Pratham, let me ask your perspective. Did you see that philosophy starting to get instilled, and how has that developed over time for you?
I think definitely. So financial literacy, I think, allows people to have better future, a more secure future. And as far as I know, I think investments have the biggest possibilities for return. So knowing financial literacy helps you and helps others around you by budgeting, by saving, by investing. A lot of these things, a lot of people don't know how to do. And it's like, we think that the majority of people do, but just throw some stats out there. Over 50% of Americans actually live paycheck to paycheck, and 20% of Americans don't even save their annual income. So knowing that, I didn't want to be in that statistic. I wanted to be able to help myself, help my family in the future, help the people around me, and this was the way to go.
Wow. Well, you know what, Pranay, I can already tell the sort of the wisdom you've already started instilling. I mean, at 17 years old, Pratham, you are you're talking like people that made a lot of financial mistakes and in their 30s and 40s are just starting to realize that. So you definitely have you definitely have an early start. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Good stuff. Okay, so so let me go from now philosophical to more practical. So Pranay, when did you start instilling that financial mindset into your kids, and like what were some of the practical things you did to help?
There is a three-step process, if I recollect it, rightly. And it all depending on the age where they are. When they were in the initial ages, like 4, 5, 6, 7, I would kind of focus on how to spend the money, how to spend the dollar. What do you want to buy? What you don't want to buy? And and eventually, as they started using that from age like 6, 7, and 8, I would say overlap. I used to motivate them how to earn money by doing household chores or helping, doing even a good deed. Hey, if you do this good deed, like donate or spend your time helping somebody, I will give you $1. So it was a mix of earning while doing good things. So nice. That was that was the second part of the phase. Then eventually, as they grew up like 8, 9, and 10, I would, make them, focus more on, okay, now you need to start saving for, think about college, because college is like 8 years away. And that is how I started, okay, give, $1 a day. Or the other way I would do it is, okay, if you want to spend so much, 5% or 10% of the money, you scale back and save that money for $1. So if you, let's say if you go out for eating, and we typically would spend $60 to $100 for a family of 4. I would say, okay, pick a choice, $100. Now you can, use this money for a, one of the weekends or one of the month, and where do you want to eat? And all the remaining money goes to your fund, college fund. So then they would say, okay, Dad, maybe we can, cook sometimes more healthier, cook at home, and I will take that money. Or they would say, hey, okay, now I've saved enough for the last 2 weeks. Let's just, binge and eat whatever you want to eat. So it's, just basically empowering them to do whatever they feel is right. But, having that sense of, that money, earning every dollar is so hard. You kind of have to make sure that they realize that value. Then that once you have the dollar thing settled, all that multiplier effect will happen. That same philosophy will scale up eventually. So that's how my journey started, planting the seeds of what is important and how do you spend the money.
I'm glad you started going into giving that sense of ownership to your kids and saying, okay, whatever choices you make, good or bad, you live with the consequences, right? And I think a lot of parents try to protect their kids from some of the bad choices. And I think it's okay to make it in a safe environment, right? So that's awesome. That's awesome. So you said you started doing that from 6 to 7, and then you started doing the household chores and doing the earning and giving, teaching them those aspects of it. There is one story that I want to get into, which is how you told me you got your son involved into investing in the first place. But before we get to that, Pratham, let me ask you this. Those practical things early on. Now, what did you see? Did you see that? Did you feel like your dad was trying to push you hard? Did you feel like your dad and mom were trying to teach you the right things? Let me get your perspective, please.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I also never got an allowance. It was like these were the chores I had to do. I didn't get paid for it or anything. While a lot of my other friends got like a weekly or monthly allowance of doing specific chores that they had to do and things like that. And I think it was honestly a good thing for me. Like, it wasn't what they were trying to put in, but if I had my own allowance and I was getting the same money every week or every month, I would use that money instantly because I know I'd be getting more money the next following week or following month. So like when my dad always used to give me whatever money I needed for whatever it was, and me having the responsibility of knowing that it's my parents' money and it's not like my own because it's not my allowance, it made me rethink what I was buying and if it was really necessary to me. And sometimes it even made me feel bad, like, maybe I shouldn't be buying this because I'm not using mine. It's their money and they
Wow.
worked hard for it, but I'm just using it for something that I won't even remember in the next week.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. So, but
yeah,
at that time, though, while you were going through it, was there at
yeah.
least a little bit of sense of regret that, hey, my friends have money to
Yeah,
spend, and
definitely. Yeah, because my friends would be able to buy whatever they could with whatever allowance they had, while I even if like I could ask for anything I wanted, I didn't want to because I felt bad about asking for it.
Pranay, let me ask you this. I'm sure you may have felt that from Pratham saying, "Hey, Dad, my friends have money that they can freely spend, but you're not giving." Like, did you have that conversation with your son to help them understand why?
No, so very interesting thing is the allowance concept we have never talked about.
Hmm.
It was never, he had never asked for the, hey, I should get X amount of dollars each week. He
Hmm.
has never asked that.
Hmm.
What he has always, the experience that I had, buying a $400 sports shoes versus a $100, that was the struggle that, hey, why, Dad, why can I buy it a $200 or $300 shoe? Why should I
Hmm.
just spend limited to $100? Those were the chats and conversations we kind of used to have. But yeah, he has never asked for money for that, hey, that I need to have fixed money, because he knew that
Nice.
I would spend whatever he needs at any point of time mostly.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. So let me bring us to what I wanted to make sure we definitely had a chance to cover. So,
Yeah.
Pratham, I know you're studying investing now. It was interesting to me when I met you guys a couple of months back, where you mentioned how, Pranay, you got your son involved into investing, and it started from household chore, specifically, mowing lawns and things like that. But to say, hey, how can I take this and get my son interested into investing and managing his own money? So, would you mind just sharing that story a little bit, please?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll take a stab at it, and then Pratham can throw more commentary. So once I realized this was so right now he's in college, but this was 2-3 years ago, and he had taken a lot of interest in business and finance. And I think he has seen us from a business background family, that I always have that interest. Hey, you should always think like a businessman. Even if you're doing job, it's not just a job, right? It's, you have to think more of like, you own this book of business from a P&L perspective. You have to think like a more of a, it's your own business. Now, having said that, he picked up courses in high school which were more business and finance related. He used to dabble in fake money, and he spent close to a year learning investing. And I used to see that he has a lot of interest. He's a lot of pent up interest, and he used to spend reading books and understanding. Once I saw that, I was like, okay, this guy is really into it, and he wants it, and he has already used fake money. And I was like, okay, let me start with some dollars and see what he does in investing, because I've been doing investment in investing for a long time, but our philosophy is different. It's mix of conservative to aggressive, and we know how much dollars to put at risk versus how much dollars to put at safe and all that. Well, kids don't have that. But I didn't want to put my constraint or my thought process into it. I said, okay,
Awesome.
let's see what he wants to do. So first time I gave him $500, opened up an investment banking account, and I said, okay, this is the $500 you want to use, and just play around. And I told him very upfront that even if it becomes zero, don't worry about it. As long as it doesn't go minus, because with the platforms that you have out there, you can take risks where it can go minus couple K also. So I said, as long as let's start with 500 and see where it goes. Gave him 500, and then he started, he got excited and he started, using it. And I watched it for 3 months, and he was doing well. He made some money, he lost some money, But one thing I realized that he was not taking the kind of extreme risk that I was worried about. So that gave me the confidence that he's doing the right thing, at least in the right ballpark. Then I increased that $500 to 1,000 and then 2,000 and 3,000. So right now he has a portfolio which is around $5,000.
Nice.
And he plays around. And I think that was very important for me to, because see, there is one thing that you really go through the books and learn, but and you use fake money, but there is a completely different experience when you use real money. And I think the responsibility and the actions that you take, that kind of, once the kid or that, when Pratham had that experience, then I realized that what he was reading in books and thinking about theorems and what is the art of the possible, what is, when you apply to real life, how much of that is real?
Right.
And I wanted him to go through that experience because, when they're that young, they are always in a dream world of how much millions they can make. And I was like, yes, you can make it, but let's start with the basics, start slow. And once you get that, that feeling, when you really feel and touch it, then you will realize that, money, how to, the value of a dollar, right? Back to the initial question that I had, then you really realize the value of a dollar. And then one of the things I wanted, Pratham to do is that, stocks, investing and all that is great, but his focus should be more of, learning and educate, grabbing the education at the age that he has. And in parallel, investing, stock, money making is there. But I wanted to, balance it out between his urge of making millions and the right age to study, because this age will not come back. So I just wanted to make that right balance and then let him thrive in that environment that I'm giving him.
Pratham, let me understand your perspective. So when your dad first came to you to say, hey, I'm going to give you money to invest, what was your thought process? Like, hey, is this free money that he's giving me all of a sudden? I'm going back to the mowing lawn aspect, because I remember it was a way to say, hey, if I can pay somebody just to, earn that much money to pay somebody else to do it, then that's a great start.
Yeah, so my dad actually didn't come to me with the $500. I asked him for it. After using the fake money and stuff, I started getting more interested in it. So I asked him, like, can you give me a couple $100 of real money so I can at least try it out and learn new stuff? And while I was doing all of this investing, my main focus was trying to learn new things and just trying to gain a lot of knowledge. Like the money part was like, yeah, I'll lose some, I'll make some, but knowing after my dad said if it goes to zero, it doesn't matter. So using that knowledge, I didn't waste the money or just gamble on it, but I just tried to understand what I was doing and if everything I was doing was correct, or if I was making a mistake, how could I fix that and things like that. So that's what I was really focused on until I started getting more used to it. And going back to the mowing the lawn aspect, so yeah, a while ago, my father asked me to mow the lawn, and we were Jain. So I told him because we were Jain, we couldn't mow. Yeah, we couldn't mow lawns because it kills the animals in one sense, and two sense beings in the grass. So I asked him to pay someone else for it or something, and yeah, that's kind of how that story came about.
Nice. But as we all get to know that there is a big difference between theoretical versus practical, right? And so when you are playing with fake money, the things that you learn versus the things that you learn with actual money that you may lose or gain, help me understand the difference. Like, what did you start seeing between the two? And so, was all of the theoretical knowledge useless or useful? Help me understand that aspect, please.
So yeah, definitely. So when I was using all this fake money, you kind of think of it as maybe points or something like that in a game, because it kind of looks like you're playing a game, to be honest. Even when you're using real money, it looks like it's a game. And when I was using fake money, I always thought oh, it wouldn't matter if I lost it or made anything. So I used to throw money to see the outcomes, just test your luck. But when it comes to real money, it's every dollar you make, or it's your blood and sweat going into it. Like
Mm.
your entire emotions are conveyed in the amount of money you like, not conveyed, but the emotions, every dollar you see coming or going, it makes like a big impact on you. Like if you're down 10%, up 10%, it makes a huge difference because you're always thinking about, oh, like I'm losing like tens of dollars by the minute or making tens of dollars by the minute. So there's a big difference between fake money and real money because of the fact that it was money. Like you could use this on in the stock market, or you can use it to buy yourself food or clothes or something. While fake money, it was just testing your luck, testing your bets, seeing what you could try, things like that. But it was useful. I would definitely say it's useful because I did learn a lot about using like I didn't want to use real money at the time because I didn't want to like waste. If I lost a lot of money, I wouldn't like that wouldn't be very good. So using that fake money helped me. Just it was like something in my head, so I didn't have to think about the loss of money, but still using the same concepts and figures and things like that when I was doing both.
Wow, good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, so
Yeah.
so now we talk about the practical things and the philosophy that you try to instill, Pranay. Let me sort of flip it on the other side. When you were trying to instill some of this practical and philosophical knowledge into both your kids, like what are some of the challenges you ran into? Like, hey, you're trying to convey something, but either they're not getting it or they're getting the wrong message. Like, what were some of the challenges that you ran into?
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges that is very important, right? When you're trying to instill that sense, and while the mindset of the kids is more about, they want to go to school, they want to have fun with the friends, they want to go to parties and get-togethers and all that, right? So I think it is hard for the kids to balance it out, just to understand, because the financial decisions that you make, I realized I was 2 to 3 years ahead compared to other parents or other kids. So when my kids used to go and hang out, and the kind of wisdom that they had, so it was kind of a disconnect to an extent, and they wouldn't talk the same language that me and my kids, or I kind of know that they would not talk the same language, or majority of the kids don't think it that way. One of the things that I realized eventually when I saw that challenge, and then I was talking to Pratham, that you choose your friends wisely, right? Choose the friends who are in a similar mindset or a similar thought process. And I think eventually I saw some twist, and maybe it was me, or maybe it was a natural progression for Pratham. I cannot take the credit for it, but he used to hang out with friends who were more entrepreneurial in nature.
Good.
And I kind of see his transition to where he hangs out with people who are more business minded, who are more with financial wisdom, and who wants to earn a living while they are doing their education and all that. They are making money on the side, and not through just normal means of doing a job, but really doing business and creative ways of doing, which is not the traditional American way of working at a Pizza Hut or a Subway or all that. That is which is also great. Once in a while, he has gone into that and dabbled it, but then he realized that this is not in it for me. I don't want to be the person just making $12 or $14 an hour. I want to do something, and he has spent time in other areas, and then he realized that, okay, if I really want to make something out of my life career, I need to think bigger and think broader and do multiple creative things. To challenge myself, and based on the times that are changing, where to spend the time to make the best use of, from a dollar multiplication perspective.
Wow. And yeah, so I mean, the company aspect, I mean, you are the company you keep, right? So, one of the things I was taught early on by just a lot of great financial coaches in my life is that, I don't have to tell somebody how much I make. Just tell them the 5 or 6 closest friend how much money they make. If you average that out, you'll see that their income turned out to be my income. Either you can work hard to, be the one person in your company that's going over and above and doing a lot of great decisions financially, or you can try to change your company, right, and get that shortcut. So no, that's awesome. Pratham, did you see your company start to change? Can you help me understand that shift a little bit of friends that you saw that were in a similar mindset that you were trying to get into versus friends that were not?
Yeah, I think it was just about which of my friends were motivated to learn while which of my friends were just trying to have fun. I think that
Mm,
was just the biggest difference. And hanging out with people who are motivated, who want to do something good, who want to learn, who like to, learn new things and things like that, started to rub off on me, I could say. And
mm,
I started both ways. I started to rub off on them. They started to rub off on me. And a lot of my friends, we sometimes do like investing together for a day. We just sit on our computer sometimes. We
mm.
used to do that. So we kind of, I guess, collided our interests and worked together to have fun while also learning something new and just making the best use of our time.
Rock on. Good stuff.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I can give a classic example, right? That how in stock trading or options, right? Pratham would want to check, hey, Dad, once in a while, not every time. He would say,
Mm,
Dad, it is this particular script, and this is the option, or this is the put, or whatever he wants to do. And I was to always pause and like, have you done your research? Do
mm,
you know the company? Where is the intel coming from? That is very important, because sometimes you will have done all the research you need from online and computers and all that, but where is the source of intel coming from is very important. So I was
mm,
like, I had Pratham that, okay, if you want to put this bold, and it was a riskier bet, then that's why he asked me.
mm,
And I was like, yeah, and then I said, hey, talk to one or two of my friends here.
mm.
They are into this, right? And make sure that share your thought process with them. And they have spent 15, 20 years in this industry. Just spend 1 minute with them and just pick their brain.
That's
And
awesome.
that actually helped him to realize that, hey, this is what he was thinking about this particular stock or company, and which was true to in some reason and not true. And my friends would guide him why and why not, and what are the other things that are going on with the company that Pratham might not know. So
Mm,
that way, I think the horizon that Pratham's thinking at this age, they are thinking, let's say, A, B, and C.
mm.
But when they talk to two or three other people in the industry, it completely goes to a lot more. That their horizon of thinking and the probable areas that they were not thought about, that comes to life. And I think that is very important at this age, to just expand of what is possible and what are the different aspects of investment that they need to think about.
And you bring up a very good fundamental kids I feel should learn of who you should listen to. You'll get advice from anybody and everybody, from friends, people that you like, people that you don't like. Advice is free. But now seeking out people that have already succeeded in that area that are willing to now help you. I mean, I think, Pranay, I think that to me, that's an amazing thing that you did to make resources available to Pratham, who he could turn to and get some great knowledge, great feedback. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Pratham, did you run into any sort of challenges that you want to share while your parents were trying to teach you some of this knowledge?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So, I think my biggest barrier or obstacle was the barrier of vocabulary, because
Hmm.
knowing these kind of like literacy terms and financial terms and things like that, like learning about it is you first have to know what it means to be able to learn about it. So I had to go through and understand what each word, like what every word meant, what people were talking about in that field,
Hmm.
because when you're reading the news and things like that, those are the type of words that come up. And if you don't know what that means, how is that going to help you at all? You're just learning basically something useless, because you're learning it but you don't know what it means. So
Hmm.
that, I think, was the biggest barrier, because that took me like a lot of time to fully understand and know everything, because it might be just words, but behind the words there's a lot of complications to it, and it might mean something that it th- it might mean something that you don't like, what the word itself doesn't actually mean a lot of
Hmm.
times. So knowing that, I had to first learn the stuff to be able to implement it and use it.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Okay. Let me bring this to closure. Let me ask you this. I've heard you guys mention that Pratham, as a result of some of this foundation knowledge for finances and things like that, some of the things that you learned to do and implement and whatnot, I know there's some recognition and awards that you got as a result of some of the knowledge and things that you've done.
Yeah, definitely. So one of the awards that I won was an entrepreneurship event in a club called Business Professionals of America. So
Okay.
I won a state award in entrepreneurship, and that wasn't really a financial award, but what I did do was create an entire business plan and product for I created a company and business plan, and I had to pitch my idea to judges and kind of explain to them how this would be beneficial to the rest of the world, and how I would be able to bring it out as a product in the market
Oh,
and
wow.
things like that. So it wasn't a lot of finance that I learned in that event, but I did learn a lot about companies and creating a business plan, because a business plan does have a lot of the financial charts and things like that.
Yeah.
So I learned more about that through the entrepreneurship event. And then the year after, I won a national award in the event called Financial Analyst Team. So
Okay.
in that, we had to kind of help a failing business kind of give her advice on what she can do to turn her business around, and if
Wow.
that's going online, or maybe shutting down one of her store locations, or shifting one of her store locations, or there's a plethora of possibilities that we could have chosen from. So what we had to do was kind of calculate the numbers, go down to the costs, and understand what would be the best for this woman, and what would help her the most in her business.
Wow.
And
Okay.
through that, I won that award. Yeah.
Wow. How old were you when you won the entrepreneurship award and the financial analyst?
I was a sophomore for entrepreneurship, so it's 15 for entrepreneurship, 16 for financial analyst.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Pranay, how did that make you feel? Did you say, "Oh yeah, good," or I'm sure that made you feel proud and he's going in the right direction.
Yeah, no, of course, it made us proud for sure. And one of the things I always tell my kids, right, find your strengths. Find your strengths, in school or in college life, or that is, important as they go into the work life also. Find your strength and play to your strengths. Grades does matter. Focus on grades, but the biggest thing that I always, on my own personal growth, I would say is, as long as you know your strengths. So first of all, you should know your strength.
Okay.
And the way, and when I saw Pratham, that okay, he was using his strength, and he was getting that recognition, and I think that confidence that builds into the kid, that was more valuable to me. That okay, now he is going after a passion that he likes. He is getting recognition, and now that confidence, that's a cycle, right? That confidence that boosts him is taking into the next path and the next road. So I kind of felt very happy knowing that he found his strength and he got recognition for that. That is very important.
Wow. Good stuff. Good stuff. You know what? It just validates the choices you made leading up to, him getting recognition for some of the decisions he made. So that's awesome. Okay. And let me ask Pratham this first, and then I'll ask Pranay this. Okay. Pratham, if you could turn back time and talk to your, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old self, what advice would you give him, knowing what you know now about financial mindset?
Honestly, I would say the number one thing is just to be okay to fail, fail as much as you can. It shouldn't be something, a fail isn't like being defeated or losing or anything. It's understanding what you know and how you can grow through what you've done in the past. And I think, honestly, you'll always come out smarter and a more knowledgeable person after failing something or doing something that you didn't quite expect or something like that. So I think that's the number one most thing I would tell my younger self. It's not a bad thing to fail. And another thing I would say would be never use money that you absolutely need when you're investing and things like that, because you always know that this money could become zero in a blink. And I know this isn't it wasn't for me, but I'm just talking about in general. A lot of people will think that investing is a game, and they'll use whatever much necessary money that they have and try to bet on it, and it's a gamble. I mean, if you don't know like specific things like that, it's really tough to be able to make consistent income, I would say. So for everyone out there, I would just say, just never use money that you need.
Good stuff. That's awesome. I love the be willing to fail. That is an incredible advice that, I know kids with sometimes some of the peer pressure, some of the parental pressure, sometimes they feel like if I fail, I'm going to be a failure for life, or they have that sense of dread. It's okay. Failing is just a step along the way to succeeding. Yeah, Pranay, what would you advise yourself, especially the knowledge that you've gained, now where you are professionally in your life, having kids that you've taught, having seen some of the mistakes they've made. What would you advise your younger self, your kid self?
Yeah, so I think couple of things that come to mind. Right? As we have grown in career and all that. Pick your companies, or choose who you hang out with very wisely. That goes a long way in your quality of life, in your mental self health, or your sense of goodness that you will feel. Apart from all the financial benefits and all that, I'm not talking about, hey, just hang out with rich kids or rich families and all that. Hang out with people who have the right balance of finance and philosophy, or they kind of match, like good human beings. That I've been always telling my kids, always, at the end of it, I just want you to be good human beings. As long as you stick to human values and have that grounded, doesn't matter. We all have ups and downs in life. As long as that your core is strong, you will be successful in life no matter what. You will good things, and I am a strong believer of good things happens to good people at the right time. Sometimes you have to wait it out. So that is one. And using, I always come back to, I don't talk about I always talk about single digit, either 1 rupee or $1, the value of it. And that is very important, to come back to the smallest denominator. And second, and the reason I come back to it is, never in your life, kids and all of us meet people who are above us, people who are below us. And that you should never differentiate. And that is where I'm saying the value of $1. Even if a person is coming and sweeping your floor in your house and coming, the respect that you give to them should be the same respect that you give to a CEO of a company. So that is one thing that I, apart from all the financial wisdom and all that we have continued to give, that we will definitely, as parents, we are focused on that. But my thinking is all about, giving the character and the culture that will shine up, right? That combination of, money and character, that always is a solid combination. So that would be my advice, that I would keep giving to my kids or any other kid that I, face up or come up to or get my advice. That's how. And the second thing, to be real practical, right, from a financial perspective, one of the things that I realized that I should do more is the value of compounding interest. The story of how the money multiplies even with 6 or 8% growth over a period of time. And I think that is one thing that I would definitely at the right time share that with the kids at the right age, when they understand, because they're all in the age of making millions and multiplying by doing multiple stuff. But there is a simple concept also, while they're doing all that, how simple for some of the dollars that are set aside, what is the value of multiplying with the compound interest concept. So that is something that I would definitely encourage other parents to do.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys. I appreciated having you guys as guests. And the knowledge that you guys shared is extremely practical, extremely valuable. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
All the best, Roshan. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
The ideas, techniques, approaches, information, and opinions expressed in this video or podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Sowtastic LLC and its employees. While the primary purpose is to educate and inform, it does not constitute professional advice or services. We hope, however, that the content presented here will assist you in developing a strong financial understanding and mindset. You may not edit, modify, copy, or redistribute this video or podcast with any other website, computer, or playing device. Use of this video or podcast constitutes acceptance of these terms.